Okay, it's early in the morning, so I'm just taking this opportunity to work on her feet. One of the big things that the hospitals have complimented Julia on is the lack of contractures that she has. She's kind of awake right now, so that's why she's a little bit more engaged, but just working on her really while she's more so asleep. But yeah, the doctors have been impressed with the lack of contractures that she has, especially in the wrists and the ankles. And it's because I work with her movement now lately, or in general, she will complain about getting muscle cramps and stuff like that in her feet. And so I really tried to work on her while she is sleeping, because I can get into her feet and ankles a little bit more. And I personally feel like this really helps with the scoliosis. Just because our body is all connected, and so it just is making it so that these muscles are not pulling on the spine or contributing to that. And so the technique is actually really, really gentle. There's no stretching, there's no pain involved. I've been reading a lot of posts lately on Facebook of just the pain kids are in because of the stretching and stuff that they have to do. One of the regrets parents have said is not sticking with the stretching for their SMA children, especially as they're older. They really get the contractures really bad. And I have never stretched my daughter. I've just offered her movement. I also don't put her in AFOs or SMOs. Again, for every parent, you just have to decide what's best for your child. I have found, for one, because of her weakness, those mechanisms are just too heavy for her to even try and lift. And for two, it makes the legs and feet one solid bone type mass versus really allowing for all these delicate movements that happen in the feet. And here I'm just equally working on her feet. I want to keep them balanced. The rotation that I'm offering, I want it to be balanced here in this area, meaning just both of her ankles. You can go to movementlesson.academy/subscription and get the child support program. And there you really can start getting into learning this technique. There's the rotational movement tracker chart, but basically in that chart you're working on rotation in the ankles, and so you can start learning how to assess and start working with your child's rotational movements and really unlocking their movement potential. It's never too late to do this. It doesn't matter if your child is 10, 15, much older. Doesn't matter if they're an adult. Okay, it's never too late to offer a person with SMA more movement. I've just been doing these things with my child since about 4 months old is when I found Movement Lesson, and truly it's made all the difference. I mean, she just she has really smooth movement. And she really moves with ease. She's not really using a lot of muscle. She doesn't have it. She just has been taught how to utilize the functions of the body really well. Those mechanisms of balance and counterbalance and rotation. And really that's why she's able to do what she does. It's not because of muscle. I don't even have traditional therapies come into my home. And she hasn't had them for almost 2-3 years now. Well, probably not that long. It's probably been about 2. Maybe close to 3. It was pre-COVID, well before COVID hit, that I just stopped having them come all together. I can do more in an hour with my kids than weeks and months of therapy can ever accomplish. And so for me, that was the best choice, to just discontinue that. That definitely has to be a choice up to you. It's not something I recommend, because that has to be between you and your doctor, and really just you and your child and your personal choices. I'm just more letting you know what I've done. I'm coming up here into the news a little bit. You can really see that I'm working with this rotation. It's very gentle. Rotation and weight transfer. I'm always going back and forth with my hands, having that rotation. For this, I'm getting really into fine detailed work of the feet. The support program that I mentioned earlier does not go into this much detail. I actually went into segment training and just learned how to work on the body and to identify her specific needs. And then also too, like, I just have taken what I've learned, and this isn't any lesson that I've necessarily been taught. It's just I'm giving rotation to the body, checking the rotation of each toe, each bone in the foot, and just offering it more movement. Giving her the experience of being able to spread those toes, what that feels like. Or she just can't get this experience on her own. with how severe her SMA has been. I've really had to go in and just manually give her all of these movements. And then she works with them the best that she can. And then I just want to make sure I'm keeping the movements in the feet equal here. So I'm actually just working on the opposite foot. Though I work with anyone, I do specifically make my time to be able to work with SMA children. Any parent is welcome to bring their child to where I live. I'd be happy to work on them. I am a movement lesson practitioner. But every SMA child should have this technique as part of their services. Movement lesson isn't therapy, it's the science behind movement and how to create movement in the body, and you can see that it's very gentle. My daughter's completely asleep. She's not crying. She's not distraught or stressed out. I might be bugging her a little bit because she wants to sleep, but usually when she's really, really asleep, this doesn't even faze her. This is early. I just finished a Zoom with someone from India. So, with the support programs I specifically help movement lesson with, I try to have office hours at all times, at various times of the day, so that we can accommodate people from different time zones, especially on the other half of the world. But if you were to come to my home, that would just be my personal practice, not an extension of the Arizona clinic. This would just be my own office. But just so you know, you'll see me both places. Coming up here to her right knee. One of the big things is I just want to keep balance in the rotation that I'm offering her feet, and so that's what I'm equally working on both. When I first started learning ML, I definitely would spend a lot of time on one leg, just because I was just trying to figure out the technique. And as you're learning it, sometimes that's what you have to do. Sometimes going into this balance part, and if that's too much for you to handle and you're practicing this at home, just work on one leg at a time. The left leg one day, the right leg the next day. But I just have found that I get a lot more out of her system and a lot more movement out of her throughout the day when she's balanced. So you can see here I've got a nice roll in her feet. I've only been working on her about 15 minutes. This is the foot that bothers her more so, and so I'm trying to make sure I get into this foot. Again, stretching those toes. Sorry you don't get the best lighting. But this is more for her. I'm just letting you be a part of the experience as much as I can. And I can't do anything about the windows. So you see, I'm really able to stretch those toes now. You can see how I don't get quite the same response coming above her like this. Really coming below. And just see how nice those open. And her feet are actually quite light. Now, I'm not hardly using any force to lift and manipulate her feet around. You can see here her toes are getting a little bit crunchy, but even from the time that I started. This little toe is turning in a little bit, so I'm just going to go in and off for rotation to this toe. So I actually have my one hand way up here at her knee. So you can see what that looks like. Her feet do hang down. For a lot of those severe SMA kiddos, she does have that typical just pointed toes. And so this just really gives her body the input as if she could flex her foot up. Even though that's not something she can physically perform well, she's getting the experience as if she can. And more she's able to accomplish that task. It just takes a little bit longer. see how we're getting a little bit of a... She's like, Mom, stop bugging my feet. Now here too, you can see she's tensing up, but I'm also just trying my hand to see if I can get more movement in other places, and so sometimes it's bugging her a little bit. Switching feet a little bit. Now here in general, on the tops of her feet, is where I tend to can't really. Where she has the least amount of rotation. But I just keep working with her feet every day and seeing how much, how much more movement can I get out of her. I don't necessarily work with her feet every day, but I work with her every day. A little bit more movement. You're still tight. Sometimes you just gotta go in with one finger. Getting a really nice heavy drop here. Let's see if I can get you to see that. She'll cooperate. See if I can. I haven't done any stretching with her. I'm still not doing stretching with her. I'm just working on rotation. But you can see how I've got a nice movement here on her foot now. Stretching a little bit. Now in this new position where, she's down like this a lot, I can adjust her foot a little bit, but now in this new position, I'm just working on the rotation back in those toes again, because the rotation is more restricted here. So see if she can stay there, and I'll come in with these toes. I can get her foot to come rotate this way, down, but I can't get that heel to rotate up very well. Yes, part of it's the position of her legs, but at the same time, I still should be able to get some rotation in there. That's what I'm just going to very gently work on. There we go. So now I can get that heel to drop. It's coming down. So I'm slowly just working on her ability to get that heel to rotate. In 360 degrees. Still just a touch heavy down here. So this part that's stuck here in the front of her foot, Usually when something is stuck, it means the body is not countering, or the correlating body part that needs to counter is not countering it. So that's where I go in and find in her foot that's, go find up here in her leg where I'm not getting rotation. That may have not made sense, but as you get more into movement lesson, that will make sense. The balance and the counterbalance is really critical in a child's ability to have successful movement. And again, it's never too late to start this. Even if your child does have really bad contractures, it's never too late to offer them more movement and mobility. And you can do it as a parent. That's how I started. Just was a parent wanting to offer my child more. Wanted to offer her more than what traditional therapies could offer, because I just didn't feel like they had the answers to what she needed, especially to where they focus on developing muscle lag. My daughter just doesn't have any. She's that severe, and I just can't make more of it. So I had to find another way to create movement, and that's what I found with movement lesson. I also do a little bit of a chiropractor. We are installing a pool to work on rotational movements in the pool. But I don't spend as much time in the pool just because it can be more of a detriment to movement as a help. You really got to offer that rotation in the pool as well as out of the pool. So the pool is a little bit tricky. We will do a little bit of muscle activation, but my main modality is movement lesson. Everything else just supports that, just supports movement. If it's not supporting your movement, I don't do it. I'm really utilizing the camera right now for me to be able to see her foot with this rotation. See now, I've really got nice range of motion in her foot, which I wasn't working on range of motion, I was working on rotation. And as a result of offering the foot rotation, I naturally get more range of motion. But key, it's more important to offer the body rotation. Even if you're not getting great range of motion, rotation is better than range of motion. can see on this one, even though it's the opposite foot, I still have that same issue where I can come down. She can come down, but coming up is harder. And the same thing here. The going down was harder. The fanning the foot out basically was harder. But because our body works in 360 degrees, even though she's not laying on her other side, I can still work on the same area of her foot, this outer area, which is what I was working on with this foot. I was working on this outer area. So now I'm working here on this outer area. But the key is that I'm not pushing down on her foot. I'm working on getting that part of the foot to rotate through space. You can see I don't quite have as much rotation in this foot. Granted, she's a little bit flexed, but even coming in, I just don't have that nice movement in the heel. Whereas here, I can come in and just see how I can really just rotate that heel and bring it down, okay? And we can move in all directions. This one, not so much yet. I'm just trying to prop this leg a little bit more so that the foot is coming down like it would be here. See how it's more in that relaxed position? So I just want it more in that relaxed position, even though I'm suspended in air, because I want to work on the same thing as I was on that bottom foot. I'll switch that camera view again so you can see that. Just kind of focusing here because I'm trying to think how to work on her foot. Same way I was working on the other one. And too, this foot has less rotation, so I can't move my fingers and as fast as I was on that bottom foot. I have to go back to slow and gentle and go. Right there in that position, she is stuck. ridiculous here. Can't finish up, but here I've got a little bit more. Just kind of tight. Well, she's not tight, she's just waking up. So she's engaged. I can get that heel drop more so on this other foot. I'm not stretching, I've just got rotation. Not quite as fluid as the other side. But you can see how I've just got nice fluid movement in that heel. There we go. Once more so. So now I'm just checking to see for equality and balance. I may not be able to get it perfect. It's been almost an hour, but it's a good way to work with SMA, with contractures. She doesn't have contractures, and that's fine. That's all I did. I did no stretching. I didn't do anything like that. So check out my website, whatdoesthefutureholdformychild.com/SMA. And like and subscribe to the channel so that you can see more videos on what I'm doing to try and reverse her scoliosis and just improve her overall movement health in general. Thanks, guys.